Hey, DJ.
What's going on, Wes?
Hey, man, did you know in 2023 and 24 school year, Wylie ISD students successfully passed 1,236 industry-recognized certification exams through their career and technical education programs?
You're talking about high school students.
Man, we're talking about some smart kids.
That's incredible. I did not know that.
Absolutely. Now you do. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Live, Love Wylie podcast, hosted by Wes Dorsey and DJ Shirley. Connecting people in the city we live and love. Hey, man, we got another great episode today. We got Jason Hudson. He's the Executive Director of Academic and Career Connections at Wylie ISD. Welcome to the show, Jason. How you doing
Thanks
today?
for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what we like to do is we like to get to know our guests, where they grew up, how they got to Wylie. So tell us a little bit, where did you grow up?
Well, I actually grew up in Commerce, Texas, right down the road from here, and grew up on a small farm. We did that until I was in junior high. And then my parents went into education, which was the best of both worlds for me because I used my background of farming to go get an ag degree, and then that just turned into my career, actually. And so it's just been beyond wonderful for me.
That's cool. So I hear that Wylie and Commerce were a little bit of a rival back in the day.
They were back in the 80s, yes. You had some shootouts there. But
what was, we're all 6A now. Everybody up here is 6A now. So how big were the schools back then?
Back then it was just a straight 5A classification, so 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A.
Yeah.
And so Commerce was in Wylie was in 3A.
Okay.
And so it's very unique times,
Yeah. So how long did that rivalry last?
To my knowledge, it started right around 1980, and then because of the football districts, I believe Wylie went east. And back then only two teams got into the playoffs. And so it was always pretty cool to find out who was going to get in. And the way my memory is back then that Wylie was always very good in football, Commerce, but Bonham was very competitive as well. But only two got in, so it always made that last game of the district very, very entertaining.
Absolutely, yeah. Some big rivalries. Yeah. Football's the king around here. That's right. Absolutely. So you grew up farming and on a farm?
Yes. So we farmed several hundred acres. And then in the middle 80s, we shifted. My parents were blessed to have their college degrees, and they went into the field of education. And I'm actually one of 7 kids. And so most of us went into education as well. It's been very good for us, very fortunate. But when I was in college, I went into manufacturing.
Okay.
And that was a plus for me. So I got to have the background of agriculture growing up. Showed FFA when I was in high school, and then I had the opportunity to work in manufacturing when I was in college, and I did that for 4 years. That's actually how I was able to get through college.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I did FFA when I was in high school as well. I graduated high school in '87 in East Texas. I went to Hallsville High School.
Right down the road.
Right down the road, not too far. Well, a couple hours. But, I did all 4 years of FFA in high school, and it stopped at my Lone Star Farmer. Is it a degree?
Degree, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I stopped there, but I showed animals, and
There's nothing like it.
it was such
It's
a
a
good
discipline,
time.
and I think that's what's so to be commended in FFA is there's so many opportunities in it, and we do that in our programs, whether it's livestock showing. I think it's what a lot of people think. Oh, it's just livestock showing. No, it's all the competitions that you do in leadership, the LDEs and CDEs, and so it is phenomenal for our kids. I think there's something in FFA for every kid if you want it to be.
There actually is. So I raised different animals. I showed lambs. I was part of the dairy judging, dairy cattle judging team.
Yes.
We went around and did competitions. It was just a really cool time.
It's an opportunity.
And we learned how to weld, and we built picnic tables, sold them at our FFA auctions and stuff like that. So it was really a good time. FFA is just a great program.
I think it's something on FFA and being in ag. It's something that most people are not going to go into that, especially in today's age. Only about 2% of the population is even really associated to agriculture itself. Maybe a little bit more than that overall. but your takeaways and the responsibilities and what it instills in you is tremendous.
Absolutely. We kind of got ahead of ourselves a little bit on our common ground in FFA there. So where did you go to college?
Well, it's changed names a couple of times. When I went there and started there, it was East Texas State.
Okay.
And then it changed in 1996 to Texas A&M Commerce.
Yeah.
And then in this past November, it changed to East Texas A&M. So they've gone back to the old logos and all that from years before, and it's pretty neat.
That is cool. Yeah, I had a lot of friends that went to Commerce over there to school. So when you graduated college, what was your path? What did you want to do when you got out of college?
Well, so we got done, and you got to remember at that time, I really wanted to be an ag teacher. I was married at the time, and I was very hopeful to find an ag teaching job. But like I said, they were few and far at that point. It's a little bit different now because there's so many more ag teaching jobs that are available now. But back in the 90s, there was not a lot. And so kind of looked around, and it was here and there, far west Texas and stuff like that, and it was just not meant to be. But I was recruited to teach technology education. Okay. I thought, you know what, I can do that for a year. It's really not what I want to do, but it's an opportunity. And it'd be something to get me out of my comfort zone. It'd be something because it's going to be new. I have a little bit of a background in it from working in the industry, but my undergraduate was in agriculture. And so going into manufacturing was a blessing for me because I got to teach it. And I never did look back. I got in it, and it just was great. I had a wonderful time with it, and so I never did truly get to teach that ag like I wanted to.
They say if you teach something, it's a good way to become
absolutely
learn it, absolutely, and an expert at it.
There was a lot of learning that first year, and then I ended up going and getting my master's degree was in industrial engineering, partly because of my teaching field and of course my work experience.
Right. So where did you start out teaching?
I started at Mesquite ISD, and got recruited there by Dr. Lorraine Mitchell, and it was great. Grew the program in a short time. Had about 100 kids in it, and then year 4 we had 408 kids that signed up for just at that one campus. Wow. And so it's very near and dear to my heart. You pour your heart and soul into kids, will receive it. And still keep up with those students these days. Of course, they're grown adults now, but I still reference them as my kids, right?
Yeah. So it's time's a thief, right? And these kids grow up so fast, that you blink and they're already adults and leading their own lives and taking on the what they've learned or what you were able to pass on to them into their lives. So Mesquite, and then. Did you go anywhere else after that?
Went back home, and I worked in what we call a consortium for just 1 year. It was in the Commerce area, and then I was also over 12 other school districts as well because they're smaller school districts. Okay. And so it was, again, getting out of I was kind of in a pattern at Mesquite, and it was great. But it's very different going back and working in the smaller school districts. And one of the bigger challenges that came with that is you had 13 schools and you had 13 different vision statements, right?
Right.
And trying to honor that. And so it was great, and I thought I was going to be there for a long time. I had actually gone back. I was recruited to go back by my old ag teacher's brother-in-law. He had asked for me to come back. He was a superintendent, Mr. Blake Cooper at Commerce ISD, and he's just a wonderful, wonderful person. And so went back, and then, but about a year into that, I got a phone call from a contact in Wylie, and they strongly encouraged me to apply for this position I'm in now, and applied, got an interview, and Dr. Kim Spicer honored me the position that I'm very humbled with, and we're 9 years into it right now.
9 years ago, okay.
Yeah, been very good.
That's awesome. So the role back there in Commerce with the consortium of all the schools, was it the manufacturing, was it technical program that you were overseeing?
It was a lot of smaller organizations. It's not. We'll talk about our pathways here in a little bit. Yeah. But there, it was ag. We're like you and I were referencing. It was ag, and then you still had some business and some family consumer science below that. But the one thing that all 13 had in common were their ag programs. Yeah.
A lot of smaller schools out in the rural areas.
It's the number one in the state of Texas. It's the number one program enrollment wise. Yes.
Nice. Okay, cool. So 9 years ago, you come to Wylie ISD in this role. And so, I guess we talked about, your title, but let's talk about what program that you're over, right? So what's it called?
It's career and tech education. It has changed a lot in the 9 years, and I'm not just speaking in general in Wylie. Not only have we had growth here in Wylie and growing our programs, but it has changed a lot in the education field. We were fortunate in 2011, 2012, House Bill 5 was passed, and that got us away from heavy testing. We still do testing at the school level by all means, but a lot of people wanted more input of having kids walking away with more of a skill. Just to paint a picture of that, the kids had the liberty of taking flexibility of their career and tech programs. And really what they wanted between the Texas Association of School Board Members, Texas Workforce Committee, and groups like that, they wanted kids to walk it out and be more credentialed, if that makes sense. And so in order to do that, a lot of the kids had to go through, and it kind of lined up like going and getting a college degree, right? And so when you go and you look at what we call our degree plans, and you look at graduation plans, and you look, and there's, like, if you're going to take welding, for example, there's more or less, we have a full pathway for our kids, and you more or less come in your 9th grade class, and you take introduction classes. The next year, instead of taking another class out of your pathway, and you can switch classes if you need to, but it's highly encouraged that if you can, to stay in that one pathway. And so you would take the next level welding, junior level, you would take another, and most likely you would take another. And most time you have to have at least 4 credits, minimum of 3 classes to get your, what we call an endorsement. Very much, like I said, like getting a college degree.
Well, that's nice. So when you came 9 years ago, the Career and Technical Education Program, and we'll call it CTE, right? That's what we call it. How many programs did Wylie have in place at that time?
Wow. So I can say this, that I think we had 3 health science teachers then, and I believe we have 9 now.
Okay.
And so we started looking at other things. Of course, health science was here. We have really expanded in our business, finance, marketing area. We have actually, in those 9 years, we have more than doubled our enrollment in that pathway. And so in that brings other programs that we're looking at for next year, including we're bringing back EMT, HVAC, phlebotomy, if you want to volunteer for that class if you want to. And it's just other things that we can bring into our kids that are engaging. Another great thing about Wylie is we talk about these ideas. We look at our Texas workforce numbers, student interest, and look at our teacher credentials, because over 80% of our teachers have some type of teacher workforce experience. And we bring that in, and we get that to segue into our classrooms for those kids so they can tell those stories. It's nice to have a solid curriculum, but isn't it great to have somebody up there that was a professional contractor, or somebody, a nurse, or somebody like that, a police officer that come in and exchange those stories and connect the dots.
So now you probably do you have like past students that have gone through these different programs and now have come back to speak?
So we're trying to do a spotlight story quarterly right now, and we just released the one a little over a month ago. Mr. Blaine Wynn had gone through our, he was a engineering, welding, and HVAC. He took HVAC his senior year, and so went through a program. He went to University of Oklahoma, got a business degree, but during the summers he would still earn his internship hours during that time because he had his EPA certification that he got here at Wylie ISD. So he knew the blue collar side of it, but he was getting a business degree, and he has recently taken a job at Train in the more of the corporate side of it.
Sure.
But he knows it at different levels. And so here he is sitting at 23 years old right now. He got a college degree, and when he got the job, he was in a very competitive pool for this position that he was pursuing. They hired him off of that class that he took in high school. They hired him over the HVAC class he took his senior year in high school.
That's amazing.
It is.
There's so many benefits to the CTE program.
Absolutely.
So let's kind of back up, and I think we can just jump right in. Yeah. So can we give the audience or listeners the 10,000 foot view of what CTE is and how the program in Wylie is maybe unique? compared to other
So
school districts?
we work very close to other peers of my position and their growing pains, and we've had growing pains, if you will, because we're growing as a community, we're growing as a school district, and we're wanting to make sure that our kids, right, have the credentials that they have moving forward. We want to make sure that's what the workforce says on a regular basis. Make sure that we're sending kids that has the appropriate the appropriate tools in their toolkit, right? Mm-hmm. And so, going back and looking at our programs that range from accounting, construction tech, culinary arts, law enforcement, health science classes across the board. We have 5 different programs of study built into those now. And then here in a bit, we'll talk about our tech center, because that's what the community wanted. They wanted more career and tech classes for our kids. And so enrollment has just been across the board. We keep on doubling our enrollment from 10 years ago. And so what it's looking like right now is we have doubled our CT enrollment again. We're sitting at over 7,000 kids right now in CT enrollment right now. And so that's a testimony. We're over 80% of our high school kids taking some type of career and tech class. Now, a lot of those kids may be involved in other programs. They may be a student that's in the fine arts program, but they have an opportunity to go down and take that class and get some free knowledge right here in Wylie.
Absolutely. So how many of the students actually that are in the programs actually take these, and I kind of alluded to it at the beginning in the fun fact, the certifications? Are they're available to all the students? Yeah. And I mean, is that encouraged, or is it, just if that's something they want to do?
So, kind of give you a backstory on that, and,
sure.
And another kudo to Wylie ISD that people need to know is the old list years ago came out, and it had I think 73 certifications on it. 19 were deeded towards auto tech. That's great if you have auto tech. We didn't have auto tech though, right? And so that was a challenge. And so I explained this to Dr. Benson, and we sat down and built a flyer. And with that flyer, we came and noted how these other pathways, networking and cybersecurity, weren't being respected. FCS areas, education and training, they didn't have any certifications that students could take. And so we worked on the flyer. Dr. Benson, in his great communication at the state level with Commissioner Morath, shared that exact flyer back with him, showed his concerns about, hey, we're trying to get these certifications, but it's hard to do when it's not equal across the board. Next thing you know, we are notified and statewide that they're taking an evaluation of the certification list that we were using at the time, and they were surveying what would you like to see on this. And amazingly, what we submitted was very close to what the state, I'm not sure if it's connected or not, but it was amazing on the certifications that we submitted in, and then the ones that got listed moving forward. And so we went to a list instead of 73, I think it was right at 224 or something like that. And a lot of those were ones that Wylie ISD had requested. And so we went from 5 years ago, we had 208 certifications. We had to get systems in place, right? Sure. We had to get the right vendors. We had to get our teachers trained up. We had to make sure that we had the right curriculum in place. And it just was not something that you could do overnight. And it's just taken us a little bit. But like you said a while ago, we have put 1,000 more on that since 2020.
Yeah, so I was looking at this, and it's like in 2020, you got a chart here. This is 522 certifications, and every year that's just gone up. 2021, 22 year 893 to 1032 to now 1236. And I guess the preliminary numbers for this year, are they looking to exceed that number as well?
So we're kind of in testing season right now. This is usually, we test some in the fall, but some of it is like a summative, right? It's usually stuff that it takes you throughout the year to kind of where you can get ready. But it's just a testimony to our kids and our teachers getting us to that level, because it's not easy to get that. I think it's a number that we're proud of. We try to offer that in nearly all of our advanced level classes, and that way, like, the kids can walk out, and thanks to the Birmingham Trust, the kids walk out here with that certification, and we pride ourselves on a couple of things. And we are now trying to encourage kids and advertise, hey, those kids are a completer. And everybody's, well, what's a completer? They have completed their program.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you
That's
and I
to be
would have been
celebrated,
ag completers back in the day, but, you know, a lot of people don't do that now. And we're trying to circle back and recognize that, because to me, if I'm looking out there and I find a kid that's taken 4 years of engineering and they've taken their Fusion 360 certification, they're appealing to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's a lot more credentials that a lot of students had 20 years ago.
Absolutely. And, you know, and then when they get into college or whatever and start applying for internships and stuff like that, that goes a long way.
It does. I'll give an example right now. Just kids going into college right now. Morris Golday is the robotics engineering teacher at Wylie High School, and I believe he has 3 kids at the University of Texas right now in the engineering program right now, and they're just rolling right through the program. Right now, they have their confidence. He worked with them to be public speakers.
Yeah.
He got them their certifications. They worked heavily on being National Technical Honor Society members, and so every time he had an opportunity to encourage those kids and try to elevate them, he did so. And so you look at those students, and there's more without a doubt. We have kids here in Collin College and other institutes, but to know that we have kids at a very rigorous school in Austin, and they're going right through the program
with no issues.
And they know each other. It's kind of neat. They have their own kind of groups, but they wave at each other down there, so it's pretty cool.
That is awesome. And you know what I find really great about these programs is, you know, they're tailored for all the students, you know, the ones that want to go to college, the ones that would rather do trade, you know, or, you know, because, you know, there's different paths for everybody, but these programs can prepare anybody for whatever they want to do, you know, going forward once they graduate high school.
You know, we're trying to implement more dual credit in, and it goes back to like what you're saying. It doesn't mean that you're going to college. It just means that you're getting a step closer, and you're getting a splash up. Some kids may not want to go to take college, but if we can go, we can work on our kids, like you said a while ago. Our foundation of kids serving is in competitions, and being leaders in that capacity, getting their certification, and just being prepared for the next level. It is crucial to us. Going and make sure that we keep our labs up to date with equipment is something that we work and spend a lot of time on every year. One of our goals is to make sure that we don't ever get behind on equipment. We assess our teachers and our labs on a regular basis to make sure that if they need something, that we have a game plan moving forward. Sometimes it's not right then. If it's a $40,000 piece of equipment, sometimes it might take us a year to get that in. That's why we always have to have those conversations with them to see where we're at. Is that iron worker? Does it have another year left in it? If not, you know, we might have to move some things around to make it happen. But we want to make sure our labs, you walk in and everything is at 100%.
And they're actually working on the machines or the equipment or the you know, whatever that is actually being utilized in the current field of business at the moment.
You know, and what resonates off that is we started going back and doing an OSHA 10 certification in some of our programs. And there's 2 certifications on OSHA 10 and your OSHA 30. The OSHA 30 is got some standards to it. But OSHA 10 is something that's very, you obviously can get in 10 whatever hours, plus or minus. But we do that in so many of our programs because there's so many people. That's another hidden credential. Like CPR is not one of our listed industry-based certifications, but it's nice to get our kids trained up on CPR and or the OSHA 10.
Yeah.
And that's something they can take with them, and they go right away, and then they add that to their other certifications. Like we do that just to make sure that when they walk out, we've done as much as what we know that we can do for them, and we want to know what else we can do moving forward. Absolutely, yes.
So and you may have mentioned this earlier, how many different programs do we have currently?
So it's kind of broken out. So we on the different, what we call as programs of study, we have right at 22 right now.
Okay.
And so it's wasn't that long ago. I think last year we had 18 or 19. And so we're steadily growing in that capacity.
So are these considered 22 pathways?
Yeah, 22 pathways.
Okay.
Yes, and I have a plan booklet.
Yeah.
Which is we just got done with I Have a Plan. We did that in January, and that's an opportunity for our kids, the 8th grader students, to come over to our high schools and visit our programs over there, and
kind of get ready to see what they may want to choose.
They set up. We have students there. We have their labs open. And it's a huge moment where they can also bring their parents in and seek that guidance and education from their parents and approval.
Yeah. So what are some of the most popular career pathways?
Right now it's health science. It has been, and I think it's going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
And of course we keep expanding in, and a lot it has to do is we expand and then we hire somebody in that comes out of the healthcare business. Well, they've got credentials. They're also got credentials in another area. And it's an example is like we mentioned a while ago was EMT. We have a gentleman that can teach a wide range of our health science classes, but he can also teach EMT. And so he's going to teach EMT next year, and that's going to bring in even more students in that pathway. So health science has grown tremendously, and it will be, especially with the Texas workforce numbers on it. If you look at like what we do is the top 10, and I believe there's 3 or 4 healthcare related programs in the needs right now in Texas, and then you look at where we're at right here in Wylie, and you just go straight to the west, and there's so much opportunity for our kids in those areas. And of course, our kids here, we have job shadowing opportunities for our kids in those pathways as well. But one right behind that is business finance. I believe when I got here, we were sitting at like 450 or something like that. And because of great teachers and bringing in an emphasis of our CTSOs, those are the clubs or organizations that's associated with those pathways. And we have really expanded in the DECA, which is marketing, and BPA, which is Business Professionals of America.
Right. And I think you kind of right into my next question was, how you're staying aligned with industry needs and workforce trends to kind of tailor our programs to meet those needs in the workforce, right?
So I don't think that's what you're gauging for, right? It's kind of like what we said a while ago. We're trying to close that gap as much as we can, and I think working with our local partners is huge for us, especially the Wylie EDC, because they partner with the Texas Workforce Commission.
Right.
And so it wasn't long after I got here, Jason Greiner kind of helped me get in communication with them. And we invite them to our events because we want them to see what we're doing. We want feedback from them. We want guidance of what we're doing because it may go good and may be great, but we also know that there's better. And so we're trying to have that partnership with them because they see the industry. They have a closer need of those numbers.
Right.
And so when we propose new classes every year, that data, that Texas Workforce Commission numbers, that is involved in our planning moving forward. The electrical program that we're going to offer, we're offering level 1 this year. Level 2 is going to be next year. That is because of needs working through the Wylie EDC and some of the local electricians saying we are beyond in need of electricians. And so we've been in work for a couple of years on this project, but we believe now what we're doing now, having level 1 right now and level 2 next, it's a step in the right direction.
That's great. That's huge. A lot of the trades, the workforce or the work pool has diminished over the years with a lot of the push for everybody to go to college and stuff like that.
And they're prospering probably more now than they ever have. That's the catch on that, right?
Supply and demand.
It's
right?
unbelievable. Yeah.
So, I want to talk about some of the specific hands-on experiences the students get through the CTE programs.
So if you walk into like our health science area, and we on each campus we have a skills room, and that way the kids can go in, and you have a classroom that's already a lab in the first place. Then we have a direct skills area set up where the kids make sure they can go in and get that correct training that they need to have. And that where that's medical assisting. And so we need to make sure for those kids that they're practicing and they are ready to take that exam because health science, most of the time they test in May.
Right.
And we do very good. The passing rate is above 95% on those Texas credentialed certifications. Our kids are over 95% passing rate right now. So those skills rooms are huge. Having that quality teacher in there that has that work experience is crucial as well. So we try to do that across the board. We have a lot of labs that we have right now. When we had the bond pass in 2019, it had a lot of emphasis on going in and doing some updates, getting some of our rooms, labs completely remodeled. There were some that we went all the way down to the studs, but we got them back where they needed to be at, and it was an impact right away because we saw student interest to go up nearly overnight. You got to remember, in 2020, our advanced welding, I keep on going back on welding, but I know this one for a fact that it had no more than 20 kids in the advanced level welding, and we're over 60 right now. So you look at that short time frame after the pandemic where kids kind of needed a break, I guess, from doing as much direct computer work, and they wanted more hands-on. And so we're seeing our hands-on type classes. We have the culinary program on each campus. We have the 544 Cafe where kids walk out of there and they get their Serve Safe Manager certification that's credentialed and recognized. They've worked in a business. Yeah. It's right here.
So let's just talk about the 544 Cafe for a minute. That is an actual place that people can go in and get and order food.
Absolutely. It's wonderful. We have a restaurant manager and 2 chefs that help run it. We're open 3 days a week. We kind of put it in the middle of the week, but we're open for breakfast 8 to 9, and then for lunch we're 11:30 to 1 o'clock. And it's just a tremendous opportunity for Wylie East kids and Wylie High School. It is housed at Wylie High School, but we have Wylie East kids that come over as well.
Okay.
And it is just the stories that we've heard all these years, and these kids go in and they are ready to work for a Michelin-related type business at that level or advanced level culinary school, because they come in and they are so far ahead of everybody else because of that setting over there.
Absolutely. And so Wylie East has, I guess, what do they have? They have a similar type store over there.
So we run a spirit shop, and we run that through the business, finance, marketing pathway over there. So you can go online, and they make spiritware for any school or anything that you want. You just got to work with them, and they can build you a design up and make you a shirt for it. So pretty cool.
Yeah. You know, all crosstown rivalry aside, right? I mean, you can go in there and get Wylie High gear,
absolutely,
Wylie East gear, or any of the schools, right?
Yes. We customize coffee mug. I mean, we just don't do T-shirts, but there's a lot of different things that we do that we can digitize the pillows or whatever you want in there for our canvas settings. I mean, it just kind of, if you bring an idea to us, we'd like to look at it and see what we can do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I know my daughter, she's 25 now, but she actually did a little stint in the spirit shop over there at Wylie East.
Okay, all right.
She really enjoyed that.
That's good.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned earlier the young gentleman that has got the job at Train and stuff. Mm-hmm. Are there any other standout success stories that just pop into your mind about, you know, the students that have gone through the program?
You know, there's a bunch. We're fixing to do a story on a student that did it in information technology, the cybersecurity pathway, and so we're getting ready to release that in the near future. And the student went through, did an internship through a Dallas Tech Doctor, and then I believe is just about done with UTD, if my memory is right. And so it's just amazing that they can go through and have that program, have our area partnerships, and then they can go on and because that short window, they have so much prosperity that they accelerate.
Right.
And they're ready for the next level. And it's a plus on a lot of this, and it's what we're looking forward in so many of our areas, is now, you know, when I got here, which was in 2016, that's when the discussion of Collin College was here.
Right.
And one of the first meetings I went to in July of 2016, which is the month I got here, was a meeting of proposals from Collin College. And so what they're going to be doing moving forward and what we have is nothing but greatness right now, because we're going to try to steadily partner with them in other capacities. We're doing health science right now. We want to offer more health science classes, and we're even looking at the networking and cybersecurity pathways for our kids, because their programs that we have here, they're wonderful through Collin College.
Well, absolutely.
And the cost of them is the best thing of all of them.
And I think you know Collin College has a great nursing program.
Mm-hmm.
They also you can also get a 4-year bachelor's degree in cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. And so with the CT programs at Wylie ISD, being able to feed into those programs is huge.
It's huge for them to be able to crosswalk right in.
Yeah.
Take some of those classes right here at the minimal expenses and the great tuition that they are, and then graduate. But those are probably, of all the wonderful programs that they have right here the cybersecurity and the healthcare business is the ones that we're looking at mostly. But also at the Allen campus, where they have that tech campus at Collin College, that is amazing what they have over there. And so we're trying to find ways to send more students over there, because they do have an auto tech program, and that's something that we'd love to have more opportunities in moving forward.
Sure. I know. So we talked about, how the programs maybe tie into higher education and stuff like that. But, how does Wylie ISD partner with some local businesses and industries to provide opportunities for the students in these programs?
We do it really two main ways. And main two are job shadowing. And so like our pharmacy tech kids, they can go to a local pharmacy. They can do that during their class time, right? And so that doesn't really cut in too much. And so they can go do their class time internship on a rotation in the springtime, 2-3 days a week, and they go back to campus. They finish out their day, and they got some industry experience. And then they finish out. They can play march in the band or play volleyball that night or whatever it is. But they get the double dip in that world, and it's right here, and because we have the options for our kids to do so.
It's like a mini internship.
Yes. So we don't. Sometimes we try to clarify the difference between that actually, and because we feel like sometimes when we say an internship, most of the time we try to put a dollar behind it.
Sure.
And so not all the time. We've had some kids go do some full internships, and it was they were not paid to do so. But most of the time we try to paint that up. Like a kid going to do an internship, especially during the summer or something like that. That it's actually kind of gotten away. We went to during the pandemic. We were under complete lockdown, and we were doing competitions virtual, and it was unique when you're doing a culinary arts competition all virtual, and we made it work out. Our great teachers and kids, they were champions about it. But going back, we wanted something more, and we were ready coming out the end of the school year, and we felt like, why don't we do we had talked a little bit about it before the pandemic. I said, why don't we do an internship signing day? And we sat down, and I said, I want it to look just like any sports or whatever. We owe this to our kids.
Let's celebrate it.
Man, absolutely. And so we did it in, I guess that would have been the spring of 21, I guess, is right when we were coming out of it. And it was such a breath of fresh air. And we did it thanks to Mr. Brent Parker and everybody else. We did it at City Hall to meet compliance standards. But it's absolutely wonderful. We handed the keys. One of the things that we did is we wanted to make sure that when we did that we would hand the keys off to a supervisor or whoever was coming up there for the signing. So we'd obviously have the student, the parent, and company reps, and we wanted the company reps to talk about what is that student going to be doing during this time, and why did you pick this kid? And it was beyond great to hear the stories on why they selected our students, why they selected them over adults, why they selected them over college students, and it just gave you some direction that we're on to something very special here at Wylie, and we're doing things good, and our great teachers are leading us in the way right now. And it just kind of segued into other opportunities of the next year of doing internship signing day. So we do it every May. And it's a good way to end the school year. We have an advisory meeting where we have area partners come out, and we have that part of the meeting first, and then after that we do this portion of it, and it's wonderful to send our kids off. Some of those kids are graduating, but a lot of those kids are going to be incoming seniors, and so it's an internship, right? It's an opportunity for the company and the student to find out if this is something of value, and we've had tremendous greatness to be fulfilled in this. And we've had great companies, and we've had great students. One of the things that I've asked through time with our companies is to serve as a mentor to these students.
Right.
Not just put them out there and look at their resume and, oh, yeah, he or she can do this, and that's great, but also serve there as a mentor in that capacity to help grow that kid and help them grow closer to that country, to that company.
And that's great. And, you talk about how, we've partnered with local businesses and industries and stuff to help, get these kids involved and stuff. How much are these local businesses involved in shaping the curriculum that's available through the CTE program?
So we do it a couple different ways. One is our advisory committee, and so we meet twice a year.
Yeah.
We meet usually in December, and then we meet again, and usually in May, and that's when we do our internship signing day. And usually somewhere on our agenda, we have something in there of an update of that's curriculum instructed related. And a lot of times has to do with industry-based certifications, for example. And so we'll survey our companies around in the greater area on what are they looking at, just because it's a certification, and it may not even be on our list. It doesn't really matter. If it's a certification that's out there and it's something we can pursue and it's something that can be realistic, the kids can pass it. The teacher can be credible and proctored and all that other stuff. Absolutely, we want to look into that to make sure that that we can offer another certification for our kids. So the value again that we take out of our CT advisory committee is crucial for us on designing our programs. And then, we'll talk in a bit, but we're looking at building a small tech center and getting feedback and building that from our area partners.
Great. So you talk about these celebrations, the signing day and these spotlights and stuff like that. Are there videos on the website of these events that people can go watch and get excited for these kids?
So we usually, for sure, for Build Your Future Day, we'll host that. We actually do Manufacturing Day in October. That was something that the Wylie EDC started in 2018.
Yeah. And
we started it here as Manufacturing Day is the first Friday of October. Mm-hmm. We realized real quick in 2019 it was going to be Manufacturing Month, not Manufacturing Day anymore, because of all the great companies that jumped on board with us.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful on the multiple companies that were going to allow us to come in and connect those dots to our curriculum instruction, right? And let's go in and see behind the scenes of those companies and their manufacturing, their software that they use, that we wanted to hear about what they do, right? We talked to their supervisors, we talked to the managers, and we talked to HR reps as well, because we want to know a detail. It's kind of like a informal interview, if you will. And that way the kids can learn what's going on right here in Wylie, Texas.
And I think that's one of the unique benefits of Wylie is because we do have a very robust manufacturing and industry type businesses here local, right?
It's right here, and we originally started off Hensley Avenue, and just the way we mapped it out that day in 2018, we could just literally just go down and cross the street. We had small groups and all that, and then we started getting other companies involved, like Savage and SAF and Innovation CNC, and even like D&N Popcorn jumped on board and said, hey, can y'all bring your culinary kids over here? And Sans RX jumped on board, and it's such an opportunity for our kids. They were building the HTO here back in the fall, and we were able to take our architecture kids there, and the Wylie EDC had made plans for them to talk to the builders,
right? And
so our kids are getting firsthand. We're using great programs, the Revit certification, Revit software, and they're going and this is red iron. I see it now, and it was just a home run for our kids.
Way to connect those dots,
absolutely,
from real life into the classroom.
Absolutely,
right?
And we had we started that day at the city of Wylie and worked our way out, and everything we've gone through the other building projects here in the community as well, whether it was commercial or residential. Every year there's something going on in Wylie, and Angel Wygant always finds somebody for us to go visit.
Cool. So, this is all great stuff, but is there any upcoming collaborations or expansion to the program that has you excited?
So I've just have been beyond blessed because I got here, and I believe it's the bond of 2014 had been fulfilled, and that project had just gotten done, and then we passed another bond in November of 2019, I believe November, May 1-2, and then we had lots, like I said earlier at the beginning, we had lots of remodels and add-ons with an emphasis in CTE,
right?
And so you kind of thought, okay, we're going really good, and our enrollment steadily keeps climbing. And so we have to keep adding on more of our CT programs because we have numbers to justify. So, it's just not building to do so. We added 5 new career and tech teachers positions this past year, 5. So
Wow.
So we're steadily. It's just steadily expanding, and so when we had the bond of November of 23, that's what the facilities committee, the bond committee wanted. They wanted more career and tech stuff coming at us, and so through that, we're going to build a small tech center at the Birmingham Ag Center out there, and it's a good neutral location. And we really don't have the room at either campus to do what we're wanting to do, so we're going to go out there and do this add-on out there. So we're excited.
So that's probably a great segue to my next question is, where do we see the CTE program heading in the next 5 to 10 years? And we're talking about a new tech center and expansion of the program and more kids getting involved. And so again, let's talk about the tech center or whatever.
So we're excited on this because, we finally have a little bit of elbow room. And you look at Wylie High School, that's it's restricted, if you will. It's got easements around it, and somewhat the same story at Wylie East. It has it's restricted as well. It's built out, if you will. But we go out there and we have nearly a 37-acre farm, right? And we still have lots of acreage that is open right now. So we've elected to move it out there as of right now. And we want to go in and put a pre-vet program for our animal science program. So our kids, we have an animal science program right now, but what about adding a pre-vet program? Our kids can come in and have a lab designated for that structure right there. And instead of just saying, I want to be a vet, why don't we go through a program? We can do that.
Right.
And so we're going to add horticulture out there, and it'll have a greenhouse on it, so we're excited about that. The advanced welding kids, I don't know where we're going to be at on enrollment by then, but we are teaching 3 full sections a day right now. So that's double block, so that's a full load for one teacher right now, which was, like I said, 5 years ago, that was only a third of what we needed at that point. And then we're going to bring back HVAC, and it's going to be in the same facility as electrical tech. And then we're going to also bring in, right now we're hopeful to bring in small engines. We want to have something where a kid can come in and have a skill set and go in and know how to turn a wrench, understand those parts of the component. It may not be auto technology, but it doesn't have to be.
No.
This will serve in that capacity. We have a gentleman that is Yamaha certified right now that can fall right in that position and get our kids going in the right direction.
That's huge. For years, there's always been, criticism out there that, public schools aren't teaching our kids real world applications, right? You know, and programs like this are just huge, right? And preparing our kids for just be able to be a step ahead once they graduate.
One of our area partners is TD Industries,
yeah,
and it's a company owned, and you see their trucks everywhere. Once you start, you hear their name, you start seeing, you look up at red lights, and next thing you know, you see their automobiles all the time. And they are phenomenal about interning our kids. And their famous line is, "Hey, I'm going to Wylie, get one of those Wylie kids," because they have a skill, and that means a lot to us. And of course, we always debrief with them at times to say, "Hey, what else do we need to be doing? What else can we do to get to the next level?"
And that's huge, to have that reputation from businesses to where they're coming to you.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's a good feeling to know that you're doing something right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what advice would you give students and parents who may not be familiar with CTE and its benefits?
I would for sure come to one of our advisory meetings. I feel during our advisory meeting, it's not necessarily always just a meeting. We have more of a meeting at the end of it. But we do 2 different things in there, and one of those is we come in and we have what we call a CTSO showcase. So we're talking about the FFA and BPA and HOSA and all those groups, and they come in and they present, and we hand it over. And this last group in December was our marketing group, DACA. They had just gotten back from a national trip, and we had 6 young ladies to get up there and go off script, and their professionalism and their leadership was top notch. It was wonderful.
Script.
We got one great compliment after another, and so we get done, and the meeting went great. Then we go to the pathway programs of study. They do a presentation as well, right? And so we do CTSO and then programs of study. So this is more of the true classroom, if that makes sense. And we went over culinary arts, and so we had both teachers It's never one campus. It's always from Wylie East and Wylie High School. And they got up there and gave a great presentation of what's going on and how things have changed in culinary arts from the time that they got there and where we're at now and where we're going, because we're going to try to go to the next level, whatever that is. But there was a gentleman in the back, and usually on your committee there's 40-something people usually in there, plus or minus, sometimes 60, but usually kind of know who's in there. And there was a gentleman in the back, and I said, man, I don't know who this guy is, and I had missed him when he came in, and so I started asking around just a little bit. I said, man, I'm a little bit embarrassed, but I don't know who this person is. Man, Jason, man, we don't know who that is. And he went over to Angel Wygant, and she knows like everybody in our group. And she said, man, I don't know who that is. I said, okay. So went through the whole meeting, and then we get done, and it's always great to get done with that meeting. Because it warms you so much on the greatness that's going on with our kids. And yes, there is some different viewpoints of public education right now, but I feel like what we're doing is we're trying to do our best, and we have ambition to do even better. But this gentleman kind of stayed where he was sitting at, and finally I kind of edged my way out to go talk to him, and I said, hey, I'm glad you're here. And I said, man, I'm sorry, I think I've seen you before, but it's been a while or something. And he said, I'm the president of Tony and Guy. And I said, hey, we're glad you're here.
Wow.
And so it's been, we've been working with the Wylie EDC.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to find a way to bring cosmetology here to Wylie for our students. And it of all programs, it's a lot of work. It's just not one that you can implement fairly easy.
Right.
It takes a good bit of work, but we're working with the Wylie EDC. They're very interested in coming to Wylie, and I think that's just another testimony of Wylie community, school district, churches, everybody. And so, anyway, we're excited what's to happen in the future.
That's what I'm amazed with is Wylie ISD seems to be leading the charge, and at the the cream at the top in regards to a lot of these programs and the way the ISDs ran, and at some point, most of our schools are always rated in the top.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. It's just year after year.
Yeah.
And it's just a testimony to, the great leadership that's involved
Absolutely.
at the top,
Absolutely.
with all you guys directing these different programs. Anyway, to segue to that, what's your favorite part about leading the CTE program at Wylie ISD?
Well, there's a lot, right? And just to give an example of finishing up the advisory meeting and just, getting to see people and hear the great compliments, because they're seeing firsthand where our kids, a lot of it's done through social media on advertising and promoting and stuff like that. And you hear it from parents as well, by all means. But when they hear it firsthand, or you go to a competition and they can hear the greatness that's going on, it is great. And it's what makes our job so wonderful, because we're in it indirectly. When I was on campus and as a teacher, that was direct. I could see what was going on. I could see the benefits. But, when you're, if you will, a little bit indirect, you don't see that as much. But when you hear it, and you hear it from the people that are highly involved, that things are going in the right direction, it is a good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That feedback's always good. Yeah. So I know we talked about you doing FFA in high school and stuff like that, but if you could go back and you had the option of all these different programs and pathways, which one would you pick?
I might still be in high school, right? Thinking all these CT programs.
Just do them all, right?
Yeah, do them all. That's a tough one. Man, I don't know. I loved ag. I had a good ag teacher. I still keep up with him to this day, and that has a lot to do with it, of course. I'm going to chase a little bit of rabbit on this, but, Dr. Vinson's and the school board's vision of relationships, and we bring our people in out of the industry and then encourage them to build these relationships. And it's wonderful, because that's the relationship I got to have. That's the way I taught. I thought that's the way. That's what you do.
Yeah.
And so, and then you have a great school district like Wylie, that's the belief, man. That's how you do it. And so, before long, all that comes in, and it's all just one mindset. And everything just kind of carries itself. And going back to those CTSOs, that's how those kids, that's when I spent more time with my ag teacher after 4 o'clock than I did before.
Yeah.
Right? Because you were out and about and going to competitions and what have you, or sometimes he'd just come by and pick me up and we were going somewhere. Yeah. Right? And it's nice to have that. We've got good leaders, and they're solid, they're good people, and they're able to lead our kids in good direction and encourage them of all things.
It's huge. It's huge. So what's one surprising thing most people don't know about the career and technology program?
Well, I don't know other than it includes so many different programs. And this next year, we're going to actually include the yearbook is going to fall underneath CT moving forward. So the yearbook journalism is going to fall underneath our group this next year. It's
That makes
little
sense,
things
though.
like that that we try to educate our people and try to keep our social media updated as much as we can. We're presenting at the March board meeting on updates. And we usually, in manufacturing month, we usually give a presentation every other year. And it's a little bit lengthy. It's hard for me to get through it under 30 minutes. But we try to share all the information, what's going on. Some of it's a little bit repetitive, but a lot of it has changed.
Yeah.
You know, we believe in having a solid foundation, but we also believe not getting left behind. You want to be innovative. And so we do regular changes on a regular basis.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I tried my best to cover everything that I know to cover. Is there anything that we didn't discuss that you want to? I know you brought me a nice little information pack, and I don't. If there's anything in here that we need to discuss that I've missed, or did we cover just about everything?
No, get on our website and look up, type in, I have a plan, Wylie ISD, and you're going to go through our programs. And one of the things that we're building now, I wanted a one-stop shop for each of one of our programs. And that way, if you get on to the education and training, you see the what we call the coherent sequence, if you will. You can see the competitions that you will be, or the organization that you can compete in through CTSO. You see the certification. You see what employment opportunity looks like after high school. And so I encourage our parents to get on there and see what we're doing. Come to our advisory meetings. We'll share information out on as much as we can. Follow us on social media. And then as busy as we are right now with our CTSO competitions right now, we're hosting one. We're actually hosting one this weekend here at Wylie East. We're hosting the first Tech Robotics. This weekend it will be a big competition, and it is awesome because kids go up and it's like the car pits over there in NASCAR. They got to figure it out, and the teachers stay back. So you find out how well they're coached, and it's wonderful. Wow. And so you go in and have all the tables, and all the kids have their robots set up on there, and they're trying to figure out what they need to do to get ready. Well, figure out it's called troubleshooting and problem solving. Yeah. Right. And then we have really encourage our vendors and our companies and our business of the greater Wylie area to come out in the first part of April. And we have our Wylie show and sell at the Ag Center, and love for you to come out and see that. And if we miss you then, we'll look for you in September. We co-host the Wylie Rodeo with the Chamber, and we'll love for everybody to come out and enjoy that as well.
That's cool. So say that website one more time.
I get on Wylie ISD and then put in I have a plan in the search. Yeah. And you'll find us right there. And that document's going to have, it's a wonderful document. We put a lot of time in it, but it's going to have a lot of your questions. Awesome. Answered right there, yes.
Yeah, so DJ will put that link in the description there, so everybody can just jump right to it.
We'll send you all the social media links as well.
Awesome.
And we also have Build Your Future Day. Yeah. Coming up, it will be the second week of April. And we'll be at the Ag Center, and it's a little bit different than Manufacturing Day. Manufacturing Day is where we go to the area companies. Build Your Future Day is where those companies that not necessarily manufacturing, but they can come to us. Yeah. And we let them set up. That's why it's out there. If they want to bring their bulldozers or drones or whatever it is, we can set up out there and have a good time. We did this, I believe we're going into our fourth year. And we kind of drew this up on a scratch sheet of paper. And within the second year, we had kids coming out there, full resumes. I think my resume was maybe a quarter sheet of paper when I was in high school. Oh, yeah. Students are coming out with full resumes with all the things we've kind of talked about today of their leadership qualities. And they're coming out there, and instead of that just being a show and tell, it's a show and interview. And so it is beyond wonderful. And we started off with 18 companies. I think last year we had 31 companies to come out and join us. This next year, we're very hopeful we want to break 40, if not more, and we want to spread our wings and bring even more options for our kids. And we really think when we get the Tech Center in a few years, that's going to even give us more options of hosting big events like this to continue to bring in area partners to help us and guide us for our kids for the future.
That's all great stuff. Well, Jason, man, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Learning about the CTE programs. So we'll wrap up here. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to the Live, Love, Wylie podcast. If you're watching us on Facebook, we'd love that like and follow there. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And as always, you can visit us at livelovewylie.com. See you next time.